Hey, and thanks for checking out this video. This video is part 2 of a 2-part series showing you how to remove and replace the upper and lower KTM shock bearings. If you haven't already checked out part 1, that's the lower swing arm Heim joint. Go and check that out, it's in the description. And let's get to it. We're gonna swap out the upper. So the first thing we're gonna do is remove the bolts, upper and lower. You'll see that I'm moving my bench vise over in an angle, and you'll see why in a second. It's gonna make working on the shock much easier. So in the spirit of using only what I have some cardboard in order to protect the soft aluminum shock. Alright, so the first thing we need to pop out are these spacers right here. You can either use a screwdriver, or in my case I'm just gonna use a punch. So there's the first one. And I'm gonna flip the shock over and do the exact same thing. There it is. And there's the other one. One of the spacers came out with it, but on this side it didn't. There's a little bit of a gasket right here that needs to come out. It's kind of fabric-like. The next thing that needs to be removed is there's a snap ring inside here. This is sort of, I wouldn't say this is a specialty tool, but again, we're talking about tools that you have around the house. I'm just going to use a pick. I actually had better luck not trying to grab the inside here and pull it out, but I had better luck smushing it together and getting my pick around this side and pulling it up. So now I'm working on the other side, and this snap ring is tight. I can't move it, I can't manipulate it, nothing. And actually I didn't realize it until now, but this is actually a spherical bearing too. So KTM decided to put spherical bearings top and bottom of their shock. Digressing, what I'm going to do is take this 16mm socket and I'm going to move the bearing down, and it might actually start working its way out. And in case I didn't explain that well, I'm going to move it down so that it relieves pressure off the snap ring. I've now upped my socket to a 17mm. We'll see if this helps. Yeah, there we go. Got some movement now. So this one needed a lot more persuading. This one was corroded in place. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can heat this up just a tad. See if it makes our life easier. Yes, I'm totally aware that there's cardboard there. And I still have my 17mm. So that popped out pretty well. So clearly the right choice was to put a little bit of heat into this aluminum, and it's pretty cool to the touch. So it didn't take a lot, but the heat definitely made a difference. I've decided I'm gonna do the same exact thing as the lower joint and use a little bit of sandpaper, but obviously I'm gonna go extremely lightly, only because I don't wanna deform the cavity. All I'm trying to do here is just knock out some of the corrosion. So just like the bottom side of the shock, I'm gonna do the exact same thing. I'm gonna see if I can work a little bit of grease inside this bearing. The other one seemed like it had a little bit of schmegma on it and maybe a little bit of lube from the factory. This one's completely dry looking. I doubt we can do any harm by putting some lube in there. Gonna make a mess. Now I've got a grease bearing. I have not yet inserted any snap rings. What I don't want to do is I don't want to put a snap ring in on the other side. It's going to act as a locator, but I know me, if I put that snap ring in and push this down to it, I'll probably break something. So I'm going to put this in without that aid of that locator snap ring. And what I mean by that is last time we had to use the vernier caliper to measure distance from either side. This time, all we need to do is get it in between those two snap rings and we're gonna call it good. So I don't wanna harm the spherical bearing on the inside, and hopefully I already haven't, but I bumped it up yet again, so now I'm 18 mil, and 18 mil better fits around the outside race. Okay, we're real close. So sure enough, the kit comes with new snap rings. Okay, that one went in beautifully. I didn't have to knock it back and forth left and right to get both snap rings in. So that makes me pretty happy. Also, the spherical inside of the bearing still moves freely, so hopefully I didn't mar it up. I've decided it might be easier if I just put the gasket on the spacer first. I'm gonna apply, you guessed it, some more grease, and then I'm gonna just put the spacer right in to its home. All I'm doing at this point is just mopping up my extra mess because I like to use a bunch of grease, and the top is now complete. So at this point, the lower Heim joint has been replaced, that's been replaced, so both spherical bearings have been replaced. At this point, there's nothing left to do except for throw a little bit of lube on these shock bolts just so they don't seize, and go ahead and install your brand new, properly serviced upper and lower shock. I got that backwards, don't I? Yep, got it backwards. If you have a torque wrench, that might be wise to use it just to make sure that the proper torque is applied, because those are bearings. If not, well, tight is good, stripped is better. I appreciate you guys watching. That has been the changing of the upper and lower, the Heim joint, the spherical bearings on the KTM. This is a 250 XCF 09, by the way. And I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks.